Welcome to the Global Wellness HQ family of podcasts. We are your international headquarters for resources and ideas and insight in relation to the 9 elements of holistic wellness. Join us as we interview local and international wellness experts and learn how you can implement and improve one element or dimension of wellness at a time. Our experts will share their practical tips on wellness in one of these core areas: emotional, intellectual, occupational, physical, environmental, financial, spiritual, social, or habitual. We created our family of podcasts as a resource for anyone who is looking to integrate the 9 elements of holistic wellness into their daily lives. Welcome to the show. The Global Wellness HQ family of podcasts is proudly sponsored by the Global Wellness HQ community. It's an online membership group where we meet, we share ideas, we share insights, and we all work together and help one another discover our own personal wellness journeys. If you'd like to join us, you can easily click the link below or scan the QR code, and we love hearing your stories. So we hope to see you in the community. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. Today, I'm really excited. We have Mike Verret with us. And before I let Mike introduce himself, I'm just going to say he named a dinosaur. So stay tuned. We're going to talk about that. Mike, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us more about the dinosaur you got to name?
Sure. First of all, thanks for having me. I had a blast talking with you last week, and I know this will be fun based just on that. I sit in my cellar in Rhode Island in the US, and I show businesses the importance of how they talk about themselves and how to do it right to get their audience to say, tell me more. It's ultimately the biggest challenge that any of us have in business. And if I can help businesses understand the importance of that and how to do it right, it solves a lot of problems for them. With clarity, simplicity, and consistency, you start to see a lot more engagement and close the next deal, so to speak. But my past had me for years in the agency world, advertising agencies, marketing and branding firms, and ultimately my client hired me. I worked on site as the account director for Hasbro Toys, Hasbro's ad agency. So I worked there full time. And in that time, 5% of what the business did mattered to me, right? How do we bring a kid's fantasy to life with the new Iron Man figure in advertising and promotion and marketing? Then they hired me, and I entered into this world where I saw what the 2-year process of making that figure looked like. I was astounded anything got done. I mean, it's mainly master's degree holders who know business really well and want to climb the ladder, but it could be any ladder. It doesn't have to be toys, right? It's sterile. We could have been making toothbrushes or trash can liners. I'm coming in thinking we're making kids' dreams come true, when in reality, how do we get to the X factory cost to make sure we hit our profit mark? Like, that's what it was about in my mind. And I came in a side door. I didn't understand it the way the rest of the company did. But most frustrating would be the absolute subjectivity of it. 6 months of thinking, resources, time spent to put together something that would be derailed by, say, a VP saying, "Nah, I don't like it." Well, why not? You're going against all of this work that was done. Like, it didn't have common sense installed to me. It lacked sense. I was there for 7 years. Started out on Transformers, and that was pure global brand marketing for my favorite product line ever, Transformers. Hit the US when I was 11 years old. And Optimus Prime is to date my favorite hero from my childhood. I ended as the face of Hasbro Games. My job was to fly around the world and talk with our buyers and our regional teams and even our consumers about Hasbro Games and set the tone for what we were doing that year. Think of this: a buyer comes in, we have 450 games. They already have a price list, they already have a sell sheet, they already know the dimensions of the box and how it fit on shelf, and they have 5 minutes. We can't expect they're going to stop and see every game. They already know what the games are. But if I can give them a lens, like a pair of glasses to put on and walk through that 5-minute experience, looking through that lens, they get it, they see the benefit, they understand why the products are working together, and sales go up. In between Transformers marketing, or, real global marketing, and the games role, they put me on Jurassic World. That was 14 months where I couldn't stand what I was doing. It was true product management. Every week was looking at numbers and timelines. And my brain, in case you couldn't tell, doesn't work that way. I just didn't get it. Nobody explained to me how it worked. I couldn't stand it. But one day, I named a dinosaur in the movie. And the way it came about, excuse me, if you're familiar with the movie, Indominus Rex, big white dinosaur that they designed in the now open Jurassic World theme park. I gave it that name, Indominus Rex. It's because we got a call from our PR department saying you have to look up what the studio named the new dinosaur in the film. They named it Diabolus Rex. Sounds terrifying, perfect for how they're trying to portray the character in the movie. Big, bad, like give it teeth and scare kids. That's what they want. Name fits. We look it up. Only image that comes back is the president of the Church of Satan. The only image. I'm talking about horn implants, facial reconstruction, black contacts, and a black robe with a high collar. He looked like a devil worshiper.
Yeah.
We call Universal immediately. We call the studio immediately. And we say, you can't do this. We are selling toys to 4-year-olds and their mothers. You have t-shirts, toothbrushes, backpack licensees who are all going to face the same problem with a kid-targeted audience.
Yeah.
They say, if you want us to change it, you have to come up with something better. Okay, challenge accepted. Sounds like a challenge in my mind. So me and another copywriter, or I wasn't a copywriter that I worked with, he and I said, we're going to figure this out. We found 15 words, put them up on the board, and I jumped at Indominus because clearly it means indomitable, unconquerable. So imagine, I put together 6 slides, starting with the name and then why. Foreshadowing, irony. Movie came out in 2015, so I think the statute of limitations is over. Bad guy dies in the end. He gets his in the end. Perfect story.
Yeah.
4 hours have elapsed since that initial phone call. We hop on a call, just speakerphone, can't see them. This is before Zoom was important. 4 of them on the call now. Our contact, her boss, marketing and script writer, all on the phone. All right, we're all here. What do you got? I am amped up and ready to convince them so they don't do this to us, right? It has to change. First words out of my mouth. The name we recommend is Indominus Rex. Immediately I hear, oh, that is so much better than any of the stuff we were coming up with. Thank you so much. Can you send that over? We got to go. And that was the end. Those 4 people were sitting in the room doing the exact same thing we were doing on our end. And where we landed, they were trying to solve the problem too, because they realize that's a big budget film that doesn't rely just on box office.
Yep.
Promotions, partnerships, and licensees are where they drive all of the revenue. If they upset their kid-targeted aspect of the licensees and promotions, that causes big problems. So there you go, an exercise in perspective.
I love it. And I'll just point out for my listeners that Mike and I have had this conversation, and he not only is he the guy who named Indominus Rex. My kids both love the movie, love the creation, the Indominus Rex. So I'm cool by association. But also the connection to Transformers. My 10-year-old was like, wait, what? So
you have to tell him that Optimus Prime and Eeyore are the same person, and that'll blow his mind.
He didn't care. And
really?
Yeah, he was like he doesn't care about Eeyore. So
I guess
I think
that's more important when we at our age are thinking about it.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that's so cool. And he's like, yeah. And the other one, I told him about Megatron and Scooby-Doo. And he's like, so? I'm like, okay, I'll give you that. But yes.
Man, the magic is gone in today's youth.
Yeah, there's something wrong with kids these days. But he was like, Scooby-Who? And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
But no, he loved the story. He thought, and again, total tangent, but he thought it was fascinating that Optimus Prime and Megatron, who are mortal enemies in the movies, are actually the actors, the voice actors are friends in real life. So he loved
They've
that.
been dear friends for years and years and years and years.
And that's, I think, what I love about certain actors, certain people in the entertainment space. They all, every movie, every project they're in, their friends come along with them and play along. And I love to see that community. I don't think most people would notice that, but it's cool to me when you see, oh, hey, they were in so and so together.
Yeah. I get a kick out of Adam Sandler's story, where I mean the
Yeah,
cast of his first 12 movies were just his buddies from high school
yeah. It's like,
and
hey,
UNH
that
where he went
guy.
to college.
He's probably one of my favorite examples.
Yeah.
Another one is I think Hugh Grant and Alan Rickman. They did a lot with the same people over and over, and
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of cool to see that. So you get
Have
to
you ever
see.
seen the movie? Have you ever seen the movie This Is the End?
No.
It is a ridiculous, it's an R-rated comedy about the end of the world, but it happens during a party at James Franco's house, and he plays himself,
Yes,
and
I've
Seth
seen that
Rogen
one.
and
Yeah,
everybody else plays themselves. That whole group of guys is just good friends from when they were doing Freaks and Geeks back in the 90s or early 2000s.
it's kind of
They
funny when
still
they
do tons of stuff together.
can touch back on their roots. I think that's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
I do love that. Now we're going to change gears because one of the things for my audience, I was saying to Mike that I'm really about finding the right people, the who, to help my audience. And one of the things as a full-time professional networker, I know full well that our messaging and how we speak to others is critical. And for anybody who's been to my workshops, I have the very basic elevator pitch. And I was embarrassed to tell Mike this because you'll understand in a minute. But my thought was a bad elevator pitch is better than the 95% of the people out there don't have one, period. So I teach, and Mike had some great insight on this, but my process, my elevator pitch is I help audience solve problem so that solution transformation. And Mike had some great insight into that, and we both agree that it's a terrible elevator pitch in general, but
I
again,
didn't
it's
say
better
that.
than.
I'm not vouching for that agreement,
I
that
will
accord.
speak on your behalf then and say it's a terrible elevator pitch, but I'm well aware it's better than nothing. Now, Mike wanted to tweak my elevator pitch, and Mike, I'm going to let you do that. But I also want to talk about why you care so much about elevator pitches. So first, you can share that feedback you had for me, and then we'll get into the why of elevator pitches.
Sure. So when you start, the idea of an elevator pitch is to get people engaged with you and listen to the story, right? And the origin of elevator pitch actually goes back to the demonstration of brakes on the first brakes on an elevator that Otis, we see it on elevators everywhere, Otis elevators. He did a free fall of a car, an elevator car, and the brakes hit and stopped it from crashing. That was what the elevator pitch was. Translated to business, it's somebody on an elevator asks you, what do you do? And you answer. That's the idea. You're on this car with them. It's a captive audience. How do you keep it captive should be the question, right? So here's how people think. I need something. We call that need state. I look at the motivation for why they need it, right? So I need a plumber is because I came home and water's all over the floor and time stands still,
Yep.
right? The plumber who tells me if water's leaking, we'll be there in 10 minutes is more important than the one that says, hey, you need a plumber? I'm a plumber. That's the idea of it. So let's parse out your elevator pitch. You start with the audience, then the solution, and explain so this doesn't happen to them, right? If you think about their motivation, it's actually, I don't want that to happen to me. So I need a solution. It's backwards in my mind, the way you have it laid out. What you do is move the motivation to before the audience. Make sure this doesn't happen to you. Then the audience hears what you're going through. Sounds familiar, right? Then your solution. You've put the first 3 pages of your book in order. The first 3 pages of your book in order. That's the way to think about it. Motivation drives to the need state. If everybody's coming out and addressing the need state, solution first, right? Services first, everybody looks exactly the same. And fundamentally, in my career, what I see is an audience only remembers one of 3 things. They will only pay attention to you if you show up as first, best, or different. That's it. If everybody's thinking need state and services, the guy who comes out and focuses on the motivation is going to stand out as different. It's as simple as that.
I love it. And for the audience listening here, just think about that. Mike took the 3 ingredients I had and just magically flipped a couple around, and it's way better. So just imagine what Mike can do for your life. So let's get into the your passion. Why do you do what you do? Because I think that's important. So I loved your tagline when you introduced yourself to me. You said, "I show you how to talk about yourself." Why is that important to you personally?
Well, first of all, from personal experience, but overall, what I've always seen in my career is the ability for us to get completely immersed in what we do. And everything is important to us, right? But think about the frustration that causes. If you have 100% to think about and you need a certain 5% for this, a certain 3% for that, but you know everything, finding that small piece is hard. Think of it like a cloud of to-dos on a to-do list. All you see is the to-do list. You don't really see beyond it. The other thing to remember is we are human beings. We are remarkably self-critical and not self-embellishing, right? We constantly can help other people with something that if we were trying to figure it out ourselves, it becomes hard. Why? Because everything is seen from our point of view, right? And when that comes to telling somebody about you or what you do or even what you like in a conversation, all of that comfort when it comes to them saying, "What do you do?" goes away. It doesn't feel like a conversation. It immediately feels like I have to tell them all this stuff that I know. This is my audience. They need to know this. They're going to have to know this. I have to tell them how this works because that's so important. What they don't realize is they're thinking at the product and feature level. Those little things are important to them, not to their audience first. Go back to what we were just talking about: motivation, relating to their problem, and solving it. That's what's important. So, what I have constantly seen in my career and what I made sort of my mission, if you will, is to help businesses, especially small businesses, where the CEO is the C suite and every department under the C suite, right? They're responsible for everything. You know 100%. How do you find that 5% that connects to your audience, connects your audience to you, I should say, directs them through what you do the right way and gets them to act? And it's an incredibly hard exercise. I want you to think of an author, Stephen King, writes a new 400-page bestseller. He is incapable of writing an effective 3 paragraphs to sell it. Reason being, every word of those 400 pages means something to him. How is he going to extract it into a concise 3-paragraph, maybe 250-word sales message? The answer, he gives it to someone else to read. They don't have the baggage of writing it for 6 months or a year or however long it took. Word choice, emotion, what the climate is like, how you describe a cold mountain setting. They're not carrying any of that into it. They want to know what the book is and read a story in order. So after they read it, they're perfectly capable of distilling it down to 3 paragraphs simply because they didn't write it. That is effectively what I have been able to do for small businesses, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, the self-employed, whether it's going to an investor to pitch your vision to get funding, or simply answering the question on an elevator, "What do you do?" It all stems from one story, one narrative about your business. And answering that in the way that the audience is going to respond is most important, because the truth is the value that we have for our audience is only as valuable as their perception of it. They don't see the value, we don't have what we think we have.
Well,
So it becomes imperative to get that one clear, simple, and consistent story right. Then it's the answer to what do you do? It's your LinkedIn profile, it's your new business presentation, it's your homepage, all tells the same story.
I love that. And, coming back to your first, best, or different, I've worked with a lot of technical people in my life, accountants, lawyers, engineers, and they all start with their laundry list of, and I've actually seen accountants advertising saying, here's the software we use to prepare your taxes. That is not first, best, or different. What would you say to an accountant, given, we're just coming through tax season, an accountant looking to grow their business? I would argue that nobody cares what tax software you use. I'm going to guess you'd have a better statement or comment to that.
Well, think of the impetus for making that statement in their marketing. They just got new software and it's a big deal internally, right? But what does that software promise? I'm going to make up a bit just to add to just to give you the example, right? That software is proven to reduce time in returns and errors by 50%, right?
Yeah.
That's one feature of that accounting firm, one computer program of that accounting firm. But if the message out to the person is get your return faster without errors, come to our firm.
Yeah.
Now you've made that software mean something right at the beginning. I could get my money back faster. It's going to be right guaranteed. Great. Why? Now I've got a way to talk about how we do it. But I don't have that until I've attached them to what that little piece of software means to the outside world. I'll give you an example. I had a Zoom, like a new just sort of networking call with a gentleman who, when I asked him, what do you do? So tell me about your business. His statement was, well, we're a CRM company business, but what makes us different? And then went on to describe a feature in the software. And what I pointed out immediately when he was done was, or I used it as an example, is you just compared yourself to all of your competition with the first thing out of your mouth. And moreover, the differentiator you're relying on so heavily is a blip on the radar for them, especially if it's the first thing they hear.
Yeah.
But their feature was actually pretty dynamic and did good things, but attaching it back to the audience had to do with streamlining 4 different processes that every CRM company uses. So how do you take the complex and boil it down to a platform so easy a monkey can do it, right? That's more important, and that to them, and that activates the feature that's important internally.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say.
Well, and the novelty would be a CRM that people want to use,
that doesn't use you.
Exactly. There we go. Now, one of the things, so for my listeners, you've probably gone through one of my workshops and you know that you should be doing better at networking. What are a couple of quick tips you would give somebody as they're starting out in networking? What should they be looking at from a networking point of view? Should they be finding the right audience? Should they be, because everybody says, I'm busy, 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 I don't have time. I would argue you don't have time to not work on this. What are a couple of quick tips somebody can take so that their elevator pitch sucks less? We'll start there.
Well, let's just use 2 examples of what to watch out for or to avoid, okay? The first one I call, in fact, I think I posted on LinkedIn about this today, the verbal business card. My name is, my company is, we do this, here's the services, here's who I'm looking to meet. It sounds like somebody just handed me a business card, right? Everything that I could read on a business card was just pitched.
Yeah.
The other one is, I call it Story Brand Mad Libs. Now, I think Story Brand is a remarkable program if executed and applied correctly.
Yeah.
But how many times have you read under someone's profile photo on LinkedIn a statement that starts with, I help, don't worry. This isn't directed at you. I help business A going through challenge B accomplish goal C by providing service D that allows them the benefit of E so that they can reach goal F. That is taking the first page of story brand and filling in the blanks. That has nothing to do with how you market it to the outside world. You can't spill everything you know in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
What the hell am I supposed to listen to? It's very fundamental. It's comprehension of 2 + 2 = 4. It's not application of what that math means when you're trying to determine how fast a train is moving from Chicago to San Francisco.
Yeah.
Okay. Application is when you use story brand right. You apply it the right way. You take the ideas, the concepts, and make it yours. Those are 2 examples that represent about 95% of the pitches I hear.
I love that. And I think that's so important because, again, the story brand math, if you at least have the math, you're going to be better than 10% of the people out there.
Without a
But
doubt.
it's if you just want to be 10% better, great, you can stop there. Now, one of the things I want to talk about how somebody can work with you, and I say this sincerely, you're better off to have something bad than have nothing. But the irony is having something great isn't that much more effort. So let's talk about what it would look like for somebody to work with Mike. Given your vast background, given your vast experience, I'm guessing you're wildly expensive and out of reach of the average person. So let's talk about working with you.
I tend to work with only Saudi princes and rock stars. Yeah, without a doubt. No, the way I see it is if you could figure out this is as far upstream thinking as you can get, right? If you could figure out the right answer, if somebody asks you, what do you do? And it cascades into that conversation we laid out, right? If you could do that, then your brand starts to take shape, the attitude of it, even the look of it, the feel of it. Your marketing becomes sharper because you're just taking a bit of your foundational story, turning it into a message and driving back to your foundational story. Sort of like a visit us in store or see us online to see what else we have kind of mentality, right? If you could figure this out first, everything else starts to fall into place because you have clarity, the audience has simplicity, and you have total consistency in how you communicate with them. So the way I see it is spend no more than 2 weeks figuring this out. Get to that narrative as soon as possible so you could start running into application and how you bring it to life, right? The strategy, the campaign and execution comes after this. So what I do is I meet with my clients for an hour. We meet for an hour. We dig into what you're doing. Could be more, could be less, but we find that point of connection, that point of difference. I write the first draft of your pitch and I send it to you within 72 hours. Then you set up time after you've had a chance to sleep on it and think about it and try it out even. It's never going to be right the first time. It's a first draft. So there will be alignment and adjustment. We meet again and get it finalized. What you end up with is a structural layout that you could use as the basis for your homepage, or think of them as slides for a presentation, what should be on them. I take that and put it into a conversational form, like paragraph by paragraph, and you could get comfortable to even the order of explaining it to people easily. And I take that and apply it to what your LinkedIn profile should look like. And all of that is a $2,000 investment.
And I think I'm going to point out a couple things. Number one, the time investment is relatively nominal. I mean, I'm hearing a few hours at most. And also the dollar investment is fairly nominal when you think about how much, when I see people who are busy networking, and I'm going to apply this to a personal pain of mine. They say, oh, I'm too busy for this. I'm too busy for that. I'm busy networking. And they're driving all over their city. They literally go to every networking event that they can find. They're wasting a lot of time and energy with their show up and throw up sort of a pitch. And
It's a scatter shot, like shotgun shell approach. And what I'm talking about is a drone strike of specificity in what you say. You say
yeah,
the right thing on those networking events. We only remember three people. Three things at a time is all we're capable of remembering. Fun test for you and your listeners. Read a 7-digit phone number, then go to write it down from memory. And I bet you don't remember the last 3 or 4 numbers. We only remember three things at a time. If there are 20 people in a Zoom networking event, guess how many you're going to remember? 3. The rule of 3 is important. If you're not showing up as one of those 3 people, consider it scattershot. You're just hoping to hit.
yeah.
But if you're remembered every time you're in one of those, you're one of the 3. Things start to happen. You go do a third of the networking trouble.
And I love the analogy of the laser guided drone strike. I mean, that's the spray and pray method. I've been to networking events. I've actually seen people who literally walk in and they're like dealing cards. They're shuffling them and throwing them at everybody as they walk
They have
through
to
the
get
room.
back
And,
to the to-do list, all the other stuff. It's like, I don't have time for this. I'm just going to get it done.
and
But that's
when
what we
they
get
leave,
reduced to as business owners and in business in general is
yeah,
everything going on. That 2-year process for Ironman, right?
yeah.
All of the things going on in that process don't matter to the audience. They don't care.
I'm
They have
gonna
exposure. None of it.
I'm going to blame Rocky. I think the whole Rocky series taught us that, all of the hard training, you give it a good beat, a good soundtrack and do it as a montage. Everybody thinks they can fast forward through the prep and then, get in the ring and fight the big Russian or Apollo Creed. But it's like you minimize the work that goes into it. But that's,
Well,
I think,
you have a vision of fighting Apollo Creed when you're here.
yeah.
So it's a straight line. Imagine driving down a highway in a place like Arizona that it's 60 miles straight ahead,
Yeah.
flat. You know exactly where you're going. But that's not what happens when you start towards that vision.
Exactly.
It becomes a windy highway or back road trying to get to Banff in a blizzard kind of confusion. That's
I've
what we're
done that
talking.
before.
Yeah, so you could relate. My job is to keep them on that path, but the path is not a straight line. The path is a parabola. It's laying the foundation, getting to that tipping point and going strong is all based on this one foundational idea of if I can't understand and attach to what you do, you're wasting your time. That's it.
Love it, and I'm going to throw in a Canadian reference because we talk about the hockey stick curve where it's
There
slow,
you go.
slow, and then up. I think it's that
Mathematics, parabola, it's a universal language.
and hockey sticks. There you go. Yes, I love the perspective you bring, and I think that's I see a lot of entrepreneurs, and this is why I do the podcast. They're so busy running flat out, and I'm just watching them run over the cliff going, I'm too busy to listen to what you were saying. What were you saying? As they do the Wile E. Coyote and fall down. And it's
Yeah.
like, I was just about to tell you the bridge is out, like sometimes you need to stop and listen. So for those in my network, I feel physical pain when people come up to me, they show up and throw up, and literally they throw up all over my shoes, and I'm looking at them going, I don't understand what you do. My head hurts. I'm going to go lay down. My mission is to end bad networking. And I think for those of you who want to take up the mission with me, I think it's worth having a conversation with Mike. Mike, you're the expert at you. You're a fascinating guy. Is there anything I should have asked you that I haven't asked you?
No, I can't
Awesome.
think of anything. I think we covered a lot.
We didn't talk about Darth Vader this time, so we'll have to have another conversation.
We could go into Optimus Prime 201 level, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yes. The story of Optimus and Megatron is my kids think I'm just the coolest guy because I know something insider. So thank you to Mike. How can people get in touch with you? What's the best way to reach out to Mike?
The best way to reach out to Mike is look up my name, Mike Verret, Verret, on LinkedIn. connect, send me a note. I would love to meet you. All that I do is on LinkedIn initially, and all that I sell is free 30-minute calls. Happy
Love
to
it.
hear about what you do and even give advice if I can.
And I can say this sincerely. I don't say this lightly, but Mike is quickly becoming one of my favorite people. And I really,
You're just saying that because of Optimus Prime and Indominus Rex.
yeah, well, those are factors. Let's just
Hey,
say
I'm
that.
perfectly fine with it.
So
Yeah,
I'm
thank you
just
so
gonna.
much. I honestly, from the Hawaiian shirt to just your ethos on the business world, it's been a pleasure getting to know you. I really appreciate it.
Well, and I'm just going to point out that Mike lives what he talks about when he's either first, best, or different, and I think he stands out in all three categories. So, Mike, on behalf of my viewers, we went longer than normal, but I want to thank you for taking the time to hang out with us, and we will do
Thank
this again.
you.
I promise.
Without a doubt, I look forward to it.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to our show. We hope that you enjoyed this episode, and we invite you to either click the link below or scan the QR code to register and listen to other episodes of our podcast. Or if you think your business or you would be a great guest to be on our show, we're always looking for experts in one of the 9 elements of holistic wellness. We'd love to have you. You can either click the link below or you can scan the QR code and complete our speaker intake form. Thank you, and to your wellness.